now that that's over, let's go ahead and bring in the filmmakers here for our little Q&A that we're going to have here. And we'll start with writer and production designer Susan Bradley. Next we have Shepherd's Gate CEO Carol Patterson. Next we have the film's director, Billy Higgins. Next, let's bring up Sierra Bradford, who played young Monica. And last but not least, the real-life Monica, Nikole Castro. You guys need a mic? Yeah. Oh, I got that one. Okay. Any other cast or crew that would like to acknowledge Billy, or?
Yeah, first of all, thanks everyone for being here. Forgive me, first of all, if I missed anyone. If you're wondering why I was staring at my phone during the whole film, it's because I was writing my list of everyone that showed up, and I didn't want to be sure everyone's acknowledged, but ask Steve, my boss's boss. I'm notorious for making typos and for leaving people out of emails, so hopefully I don't make that mistake right now. But first of all, yeah, there you go. Our esteemed co-producer, Chris DePretis, and our product direction master, Darwin Clark. Asteroids, we named that point for it's really this year. And Mitch Eason, our Bay Area producer. And Lex Johnson, I saw you out there. Thank you for riding that motorcycle in the film, along with Susan and the rest. Alicia and Michelle unfortunately couldn't make it tonight, but we do have Alicia's parents here tonight, so thank you for coming. And we got Kristen Higgins from Shepherd's Gate Marketing, who made sure we didn't trash the campus whenever we were filming there, so well done. And also Jake Shoup, our PA, extra. And Andrew Stramer, thank you very much for bringing your family to be a part of the film and for pointing out the fact that I accidentally misspelled your name. I actually spent time fixing that before we did the screening tonight. And of course, our wonderful MC, Felix Rodriguez Lima, my good buddy from college.
Okay, well then we'll go ahead and take that from you, Billy, but I'll go ask you a question here, and I'll start with you. Nikole is your boss's boss's boss, and this is inspired by her life story, so why did you make this film?
Right, I mean really quick, I kind of had a tricky childhood myself, but I'm not going to go into that too much. I think the thing was that I was always wanting to make a movie about something having to do with that at some point, and nothing was really gelling. And there's a bunch of us at work that make movies on the side, and it's something we do as a hobby, and it's a lot of fun, and we did a lot of cool stuff. But I kind of wanted to do something that was along those lines. And I met Nikole actually many years ago, long before I worked in her department. Because just to let you know, we all work at a company called Robert Half, which is nearby. Of course, that's not the company you see in the film. They made a fictional company for storytelling purposes. And so I was interviewing for jobs, and I met her and became acquainted with her department, and met a lot of the people that I work with now, and was really impressed with what she had built there, and just kind of got this idea that, oh wow, she's always like happy all the time, and you know, just did really well at this company. So I just kind of got this idea, okay, she probably grew up in pretty privileged circumstances and stuff like that, which, you know, eventually I found out wasn't true. And smash cut to when I was working at Robert Half with everybody, and she became our department vice president and everything like that, which was awesome. And I was working on some marketing pitches for our video team, and was kind of seeking her guidance because I was encountering some challenges, and she's done a lot of stuff at our company that's pretty impressive. And we started doing meetings, and at one point she threw something out there that kind of caught me off guard, and I was like, oh wow, okay. And so I talked to a coworker of mine, Francine, just talking about unrelated stuff. I'm like, you know what, Nikole said this thing about, you know, something about how she grew up. I'm like, is there something I don't know? And she's like, well, Billy, you know why we do service projects at Shepherd's Gate, right? And I'm like, no. And she's like, well, you know, she lived there, right? And I'm like, no. And I just instantly was like, okay, that's a movie. That is such a movie. And long story short, you just saw the completion of that tonight.
Great. All right, well, my next question then is for Nikole. Nikole, how did you feel when Billy handed you the script?
So the first thing I thought is, he's really observant. Because I've told bits and pieces of my story, honestly, with the team, but I haven't shared the whole story. And clearly this kind of shows, this tells the story of a young girl who was at a shelter and ended up being a vice president of a big company, but there's a huge story to how people end up in shelters, and it doesn't necessarily cover that part, and it doesn't show the journey of the first day at work, you know, going to your first executive dinner and not knowing which fork to use, for example, just stuff like that. So it shows, you know, going from the shepherd and then you're a VP, and I don't think I'm always happy. But thank you.
We'll let you see it that way.
Okay. So it was flattering. Obviously, it's really flattering, and I love people who care about the community in Shepherd's Gate for obvious reasons. I did live there, and they were really good to me when I stayed there, and I thought that the program helped my mom get sober, get a job, get back on her feet. And so if there's anything that we can do, if my story helps inspire more people to give back and to help out the community and to go to places like Shepherd's Gate, then that means a lot to me. So if my struggle encourages anybody to give back and help somebody else be successful, help another little girl become a vice president who grew up the way I did, then I'm all for it. So I was flattered, and thank you.
Wonderful. Nikole, we'll stick with you, and then Carol as well. What in the film is real and what isn't?
The commute is real. It is real every day. It's so beautiful on film, and sometimes it is not that pretty. The other day I was sitting on the train, and there's literally tables on the train, so you can work on the train. I have my laptop, and someone sat across from me, and she put her knees on my knees. And so for an entire hour I was writing and I was trying to scoot back, and so I got a really good quad workout. So that part's real. The commute is real. Me living at Shepherd's Gate, I didn't live at the new campus, I lived across the street, so that part is definitely real. When I lived there, men weren't welcome there, so my dad never stopped by, so that part's not real. I did have a gem in the hologram stall, so I don't know if you saw her playing. That was not a Barbie. I've never been a Barbie fan, but I love Gem in the holograms. I could sing it right now, but I won't. The bracelet that Monica is wearing is my bracelet. It's one of my favorite bracelets. It's a leather bracelet. It has little bullets on it, but at work people think it's pearls. So I always like to have something that represents my personality on at all times, and so that's real. I think just the premise of the story, you know, growing up, troubled childhood, living in a shelter, and then ending up leading an awesome team with amazing people that I really adore. I don't think I've ever taken anybody on a shopping spree and paid for it, though. Right, Francie? That's not real. I'll buy food, though. And presents.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, Sierra, let's turn to you. What were your experiences on set, and was it fun, or did it feel like homework?
It was really fun. I got to meet a lot of new people, and everyone was just super nice. And overall, it was a really great first experience. And I'm very thankful thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right, really quick.
What did you think of the Gem and the Holograms books? And because I saw you reading them the whole time you were filming.
Yeah,
be honest.
no comment.
Maybe give them to me.
My wife loves Gem too, so there you go. Susan, let's turn to you. You made a great deal of contributions to the script. What was it about your process in making the writing go to its final version?
You know, firstly, I have to congratulate Billy because it's really great, and you are such an amazing person with such integrity that I knew I wanted to do something on your film because it was an important film for many reasons that I completely relate to, and I just, congrats, it's really great. Everybody, Filmmaker collaborative experience. I'm not a writer by trade, but I love writing, I love words, I love type, I love, as you know, I'm a graphic designer. I've always paid attention to writing, and one thing I've learned through my career is to really be authentic and to embrace characters. And when I read about these characters, and I knew somewhat of your story, but not really. And so I think you just have to be naturals, and there's so many through lines. So it's these women are, you know, they're in a professional environment, there's history, there's a friendship, there's also in the world, I mean, personally, and as any woman here with a career knows how hard it is to, you know, keep it going, and with all the pressures of life, and just being, you know, in a male-dominated world. And oftentimes, and I was just talking about this with Lauren, women can bicker and just have this competitive thing, and there's just all these subtleties that get lost in translation. And I have been such, I don't understand that part of when women do that, and I just really wanted it to feel empowering, but not over the top, you know, make it feel real. And sometimes you just have to step back and let, you know, you have to see and experience that in the character for a minute, and it just doesn't have to be all, you know, you don't have to fill the space with words all the time. So, yeah, there's a lot going on in there, but I was just really happy to help.
Carol, let's turn to you. You have everyone's attention tonight. What is something you'd like everyone to know about Shepherd's Gate and its purpose?
Okay. Well, thank you, Billy, for making this film. And just
Thank you for letting me do it.
I know it took a long time, but it's great, and I thank you for sticking with it. And thank you for being so brave to tell your story over and over again, because people just don't understand what women go through, whether it be homelessness, poverty, domestic violence, addiction, and that there usually is a child involved in this. And the photos that you saw tonight of our campus, those are real. The older photos of the house across the street where Alice Ann started the program, those are real. And her photo, she was a visionary leader too. She was a retired Parks and Rec woman, and she started taking women into the home, and they'd sleep anywhere in the home. She'd house about 16 women there, but she always dreamed of the plot of land across the street. It's 2.5 acres that gradually through the years was built out over time to be able to house today 70 women and children. And so many people think that, you know, if they drive by, they think we're a retirement home. They really don't know what we are.
It's really nice.
And we make reason why it's so nice is to give dignity to women and children. You know, we see children running home from school down the street, and they say to their friends, "This is where I live. This is my home." And it's not a shelter. It's not a residential hall. It's a home. It's a really big home. Today, the women now have a learning and career center where they can work on their own skills to get jobs. And we have a full nursery, and we have a full after-school program for the kids. And Robert Hoff is a volunteer company that comes on a regular basis, so thank you to all of you here from the company. It's privately funded by individuals of this community, and volunteers, churches, and companies. And it's a long-term program. You know, homelessness and addiction is not a quick fix for a woman. And so we're a 12 to 18-month program, plus an additional 6 to 8 months in our transitional cottages where they practice everything that they learned in the program. And we've really advanced our children's program because children have suffered trauma. If they've lived in a car, if they've seen mom overdose, if they've seen dad for domestic violence, children have been in trauma. So now they have their own therapists that come on the campus and work with them so they can heal through this and become women just like you. And the great thing is that I meet so many women in this community that come up to me and go, "I was at Shepherd's Gate. My mom was at Shepherd's Gate." And they live right here in the Tri-Valley, and they're happy, and they're whole, and they're working. And that just doesn't happen overnight. So yeah, that's what I have to share. So thank you so much for making this film and bringing awareness to this issue.
Billy, we'll turn it over to you for one more. What are your hopes for what's next with the film?
Well, a lot of things. I mean, first of all, as Carol and Nikole kind of were alluding to, there's a much bigger story here, many stories. Aside from Nikole's story, which I've told her, you know, just because I made this thing doesn't mean you shouldn't write your own book or write your own blog or tell your own story in your own way. And you know, I even read Alice Ann Cantelou's book, and there's so much stuff in there too, like even just the story of how they came up with the name Shepherd's Gate. Really, it was like, whoa, that's a good one. And I would love to see this become a bigger project. What does that mean? Is it a TV show? Is it a feature film? I don't know yet. So it's being submitted to film festivals right now. We'll see how that goes and keep people updated on that. And because I'd like to see this become something bigger, where we tell more of Monica's story, you know, and how much we use of Nikole's actual story for that. You know, we'll figure that out. Same thing with Shepherd's Gate. I also too, like, you know, we're talking about female empowerment, things like that. I mean, obviously, I'm a film person, a video person, and I obviously want to be a director myself, but I also like the idea of getting as many women behind the camera as possible. And if this, let's say, will become a TV show, for instance, let's get as many women directors and writers and, you know, cinematographers up there as we can. And, you know, where I fit into that, well, we don't have to figure that out right now. So, yeah, I mean, whatever it can do to further Shepherd's Gate's purpose as well, because they're doing some pretty amazing things. And I think, you know, to go back to how I wound up making the film, I wasn't really sure exactly what it was going to be. Is it a short film or what? Until I went to the campus, because the first time I volunteered there with Robert Half, was at the thrift store, which is, you know, over here, and, you know, you don't get the whole picture there. There's a lot of cool stuff you can buy there. I was playing with this old guitar and stuff like that. But I didn't know anything about the shelter until actually I went another time and saw how amazing and nice it was. And that helped me, you know, come up with, okay, well, maybe there's a story between the old Shepherd's Gate and the new Shepherd's Gate and young Monica versus, you know, adult Monica. So I'd really like to see this become something bigger. And what that looks like, we'll just have to wait and see.
Great.
Yeah.
I think we have time for maybe a question or two from the audience. Is anyone?
Hey there. Oh, thanks. I'm sorry, I was just hold on.
I'm a former news reporter, same.
Excellent, excellent. First off, I was curious, where'd you get the name Monica?
So that's a very good question, Nick. Well, let me tell you. So I wanted to allude to Nikole, obviously, and she spells her name with a K. And I actually know someone named Monica who, completely unrelated to the project, I used to work with her at a previous job, and she spells her name with a K. And so I'm like, all right, well, I'm just gonna go with that. And I asked her if that was okay, and she's like, well, is the film about me? I'm like, no, I'm just using the name. And that's it.
There's going to be a Friends reference in there somewhere.
Well, you know, I do really love that show, so I guess you could argue it did influence things subconsciously, but I didn't consciously decide to do that, but yeah, you never know.
The wonderful film, I just wanted to give a shout out to Shepherd's Gate. I think what you do here in the community is really God's work, and it's beautiful what you're doing. And, you know, anyway, you know, we can support you is excellent. I was running around the place with a leaf blower recently. I apologize.
It's a great video, by the way.
Everything went hell.
Those are the best leaves I ever. Wait. Let me take it back. I really appreciate what you do, and it's just wonderful that there are people out there, you know, like especially with like the way like health insurance is today. And so like if something were to happen, it's like where do I go? What do I do? What if I didn't have money? If we could, you know, you just feel like there's nowhere to turn. The fact that there's a place that someone could go, it's just incredible. So thank you very, very much for doing it.
Not seeing anyone else?
I have a question.
Yes, Edward.
I'm gonna run over here.
Welcome.
I got it. Okay.
Hi there. I'm Edward Hightower, the people's friend. That's true. That is true. The drone shot, was that on the Altamont Pass?
Yes, it was, actually.
Did you have to dodge like windmill fans, like the arms of those? Was there an issue? Did you have to get a permit? I'm curious about that because I know, you know, tricky.
All right, Seth, here's your shameless plug. So, turns out Seth Block is a very, very talented drone pilot, and he is FAA certified and totally legit, and he is right now taking pictures for us. So, thank you again, Seth. And there's actually a huge story behind getting all those shots. So, good question. The Altamont Pass is kind of a wild card because you never know what you're going to get in terms of weather and traffic. And we actually went out 3 or 4 times at the crack of dawn to get that footage over the course of maybe 3 months. And in fact, I want to give a shout out to Tito Hamsey. He did the first opportunity, and we got stuck in a traffic jam and didn't get to the Ace train on time. And then I brought Seth out, and the place was fogged in and couldn't get the shot. And then we went out another time and finally got it. And so you never know, like when you watch a film, what took 1,000,000 years versus took 2 seconds. So very, very good question, but I'm very pleased with the way it turned out. And I always wanted the Altamont Pass to be a very, very prominent feature because, as Nikole said, she sees those dark windmills every single day as she rides on the Ace train.
Awesome.
All right, not seeing any others, I guess we got one. Okay, one more.
I wanted to ask you if you, or if Shepherd's Gate is modeled after any other example, or are there other, and secondly, are there any other similar examples in the nation that you know of?
So it really was based on Alice Ann, and then she gradually, it was a progressive situation, and it's always rapidly changing because homelessness is changing, addiction is changing, and even we're now seeing older women falling into poverty and sleeping in their cars because the rents are going up so high that older women are sleeping in their cars and coming to Shepherd's Gate. So we are always changing and modifying and improving our program, such as the children's program and family reunification, as we brought back 10 children this year from Child Protective Services. So we change with the times. And even tonight, we are having our very first, in 35 years, we're having our first AA meeting on campus tonight. We are a registered location for a private AA meeting, and so that breaks down the barriers of our women finding a ride to an AA meeting, taking our children out at night to an AA meeting. Stop all that. It's like we're finding partners in our community that can provide that for our women on campus. And then also that our Brentwood campus is also advancing. We have a Brentwood campus for 18 women and children, and that's currently growing to help 35 women and children because of the issues in Contra Costa County that are so rapidly growing in homelessness there. And you never know, there might be a third location coming for Shepherd's Gate, but God only knows, and we are so thankful to be here in the Valley.
We have one more in the back.
Yes, Lynn.
So this has been amazing because you're bringing so much awareness to communities and everything like that. If you can change one thing to bring better awareness to this amazing opportunity for us as human beings to help each other, where would you go with that, Billy? I mean, I know you want to kind of get more of awareness and stuff, but how do you do that? How can we help you do that? Because this has been so inspiring, and regardless of the journeys, the AA journeys, the homeless journeys, like help everyone journeys, how can we help you advocate for that?
Wow. I guess the best way I can answer that is I haven't even really thought that hard. I haven't thought that far ahead. I'm really just thinking about the fact that my goal as a storyteller with this was I wanted audience to feel the same feeling of shock or awe or inspiration or whatever as a way found over when I found out that my vice president, Nikole, lived in a women's shelter once upon a time, and now she's an executive at a Fortune 500 company. That's everything. That was the goal for me. Whether or not I succeeded as a storyteller making that emotional impact for everybody, that's up to you. Well, thank you. Because I know there's some people in this room that already knew her story, and I think there's some that did not. So the ones that didn't, I guess I'll find out if it worked or not. Anyway, as far as the larger picture is concerned, I found out that when you talk about big things like that, like helping people or trying to change the world or something like that, the rest of Alice Ann Cantelou's quote that didn't get finished because, you know, not only is it a long one, but basically that quote at the beginning, the reason why it says that is the whole quote is something like, a lot of people say, one of the common myths about homelessness is that this is too big of a problem for me. She once said, I'll just do what I can and let God do the rest. Now, I want to address the fact that not everybody is religious. I am myself, you know, and thankfully Shepherd's Gate is a Christian organization, so that matched well, although I do say swear words a little bit more than I think Carol's comfortable with, and that's a whole story with all the drafts of the script went through in terms of how much swearing was okay and everything like that, which actually was a very fun process to go through. That quote also resonated with me. It's like, you don't have to save the whole world, just do what you can, and then hopefully something else will do the rest, or the rest will follow. So I just personally just want to tell stories and make cool stuff. And if people get a spiritual meaning from that, great. If they don't, then I'll try again. Does anybody else want to get that answer?
So Lynn, since you're local, I just go volunteer. I mean, so Carol and I were talking about how much the programs changed. I shared a little bit that it was amazing to me when I arrived there. You have to remember when kids arrive at the shelter, they often don't have anything. Like, they don't have a bag, they don't have anything. And so I was excited when I got there because I went down into the basement at the place across the Shepherd's Gate across where we've worked before, and I was able to pick through a bunch of donated clothes. Well, now the kids get brand new clothes when they go there, and that's huge if you think about interacting with your peers and you're at school and you're dressed the way they're dressed, and people aren't singling you out because you're dressed funny and you have the fluorescent pink free lunch ticket. So just stuff like that is huge, but they're also helping women learn how to use Word, learn how to use Excel, the Microsoft products, how to write a resume. There's so many people in this room. We work at Robert Half, that's what we do for a living. So, I mean, to your point, you can't save the whole world, but if you show one woman how to interview really well, and she does it, and she lands a job, and she finishes the program at Shepherd's Gate, and her kids now have their own place, and they're working, then her kids see that example, and they're successful in society, and now you've just changed 4 lives, plus they get married, they have 4, I mean, that's how you change the world, is one person at a time. So.
I think you said it all, but over the years, over 35 years, 13,000 women and children's lives have been touched by this program and continue today. With the help of this community.
Alrighty, I think we're done on questions. It looks like we are, so that being said, we'll wrap this up. Thank you so much for coming. Everyone is invited to kind of hang out and mingle until 8 o'clock tonight. And if you want to keep the evening going beyond that, there is an after party. It's at Aviation Rooftop Bar at 2470 First Street on the 3rd floor here in downtown Livermore. And finally, we encourage you all to go to that website, sheptatefilm.com, so you can keep updated on the social media channels page and see where this film gets distributed, get any updates on where this goes from here. It's a really great start. Love to see where this journey takes us. So, all right, thank you so much.